everyone. Welcome to Highway to the Rainbow Road 5. We are here in the blue shell bracket, and we're going to have a very exciting race today between Dathus and Sheep Launcher. We're going to be doing some goes around the different tracks. We're going to be doing some battle mode. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic tournament day. We're joined today by CS Radical and Mike34. How y'all doing?
Doing fantastic.
Great.
Looking forward to some fantastic weekend racing as we see two of our better racers here getting ready here in the blue shell bracket as they are prepared to go as we're getting the green flag shortly.
Yeah, when we have Sheep Launcher playing as Luigi, Dathus as Yoshi, and we know, Radical, that Sheep Launcher is going to be spamming that star. How is Dathus going to react to that?
I mean, at this point, Dathus is trying to play as best as he can, just trying to stay in front. You know, oh, that changed very quickly, though, but this is going to be a back and forth race.
Yeah, well, we know that the blue shell flag is turned on as per the tournament name. Hopefully he can leverage some blue shells to his advantage.
Yeah, and it'll be very interesting to see how the rest of this goes as we're now seeing the amazing side view that this race is giving us here, so... Very new camera work that we're getting here. It's been a very interesting development over the course of the last few years.
I'm kind of being told by the rest of the admin team that we're not allowed to do this. We kind of have to keep playing Final Fantasy IV.
Wait, what? Is that what we were here for?
I guess so.
I signed up for racing.
No.
This is racing. Okay.
We'll pivot. We'll pivot. It's fine. Let me just okay, and then all right, there we go. We're good. Oh, I also have to turn off that other thing. Boop. There we go. There we go. Shh. It's all Final Fantasy IV now. It's all good.
I think the hypnosis is broken here. I'm starting to understand like what I was actually here for. It looks like we were here for, I think, a Blue Moon?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, either way, we are here. We do have a race here between Dathus and Sheep Launcher. The winner of this going on to the next round, facing the winner of Mecha Link and Slippery, which will be tomorrow, I believe. Mike, what are you seeing here with our objectives?
Yeah, so with Highway to Zero, ZZ5, thank you. We got 8 bosses to hunt, and as always, you have Golbez and the Gauntlet. And I'm actually seeing a few tough bosses here and a couple more favorable ones.
Yeah, you're looking at the list here. I mean, obviously, the Football Gauntlet and Golbez are going to be required. That's always part of this flag set. But you have a couple that you're not too disappointed to see. Officers, you're always happy to see. Mylon Z, generally, you won't find it in too bad a spot. Rubikin, depending on where it goes, can be rough. Karate, same deal. I mean, but nothing too... You're not seeing like a Wyvern in there. You're not seeing like anything too bad, apart from Ogo, so not terrible.
We have a Yang and Edge start, so Claws abound.
And a Dart.
And some Dimps, which is pretty interesting on these flags because we know that we don't need at least one of bosses behind the Baron Key now.
Well, we'll see how this flag set starts to play out as our runners are getting set to actually start moving, as, you know, they're allowed to now, because, you know, 45-second cutscene kind of takes away from that. We'll see where they go first as they start checking for their characters, check Bedward for that free key item.
If Dathus doing objective check, seeing what boss we have here. And even though we start with Edge, his Neki flag is on, so we're just starting with one lone weapon. It's not Super Edge yet.
Even so, level 25 Edge, at least for these very early bosses, won't be too bad. Although that's not exactly anything you want to see.
Good to get Evil Wall out of the way now. Sheep Launcher picks up Kane and I believe a Sid.
Yeah, at the very least, seeing an Evil Wall in a very early spot lets you know that I'm not going to see that later. You're obviously hoping to see an objective there, but if you're going to see anything in that spot that's not an objective, that's one of those bosses you're happy to take off the list.
Got the rare fireplace loot check by Dathus.
And getting absolutely rewarded for it with basically just a bunch of gil. At least there's a dart in that.
Is that a Gungnir spirit?
Yeah, that was a Gungnir. But, you know, I'm pretty sure Dathus might value that, like, what, 130 gil he got out of those 3 chests?
True. That's also pretty nice. Once he gets Kane, assuming we get a Mysidia check, appreciate that. Or maybe that Gungnir will just go into the face of something on the hook route.
I gotta say, though, I'm appreciating the early meme treasure checks. We're seeing a Rydia house clear, and then we see a Chocobo forest check. I'm always here for it. But Dathus is going to continue on in Sealed Cave, checking the character there, but also doing a little bit more looting. Seeing a Porum in there, while Sheep Launcher on Ordeals finds what most would consider to be the better White Mage and Rosa there.
I am a Porum aficionado early on because Rosa doesn't get white without, exit without the Earth Crystal. And we haven't seen any other exit casters yet. Also, early Blink, early Berserk. But Rosa, of course, better end game. And we're getting all these characters early on because we have distinct 7C no urn, so there won't be any characters in this places you're used to seeing them. We're getting them all up front. The rest are piggies.
Yeah, it's definitely a flag that takes a little bit of getting used to, but of course a lot of our runners have played a bunch of seats, and now it's going to be really interesting when the next set of flags come up consistently where it's back to earned again and people realize that, oh wait, characters aren't here anymore. I have to completely retrain my brain again.
Dathus doing a bit of a deeper search in a watery pass for loot, which that's a high weighted area, and with a blue moon we have T Wildish on, which means the loot is pretty favorable in general.
Oh, a favorable loot, a free white spear there in the free treasury. That's a nice little find there too. Continuing on some interesting darts that we're getting very early here. So Edge is going to be very well equipped going into the first string of boss fights. So if you need an emergency throw, you've got a couple options now.
Right, so both runners are kind of just powering up in a lot of looting. We've seen one objective check, but once you get your power going with T Wildish, we'll start seeing a lot of bosses pretty quickly.
Yeah, once our 2 runners get all their character checks basically done, see if they've got the kind of equipment that they really need to really get things going, especially if they find, you know, a ninja sword, or if you're really lucky, some Hanzo steel for Edge. You can start making a couple of checks in.
Chat saying there was a casual Mura hanging out in the Damison basement, so...
Yeah, I mean, no big deal. Just, you know, a pretty nice find early. A very interesting seed already, giving some pretty good darts and a really nice weapon for Edge early. So the early roll here on this seed is very generous.
Seedeki, but you find yourself pretty well powered pretty quickly. And we're looking for a hook specifically because it's forced hook in these flags.
Yeah, and at least with the starting Edge that we're seeing here, with the items that is already coming with, if you find like just if a ninja shirt comes across here for Edge, you're looking to be in really good shape already with just one character alone. And then depending on how the key items kind of dole out, you can get a chance to get a little bit of extra grinding in if you, say, pull an Earth Crystal or a Twin Heart. But for the time being, runners aren't really thinking too hard about that. They're just going to start checking their bosses, check the key item locations that they have access to, and we'll see what we can come across as the seed carries forward.
Saw some elements in already, and we have a possible objective right here. Let's see what version of guards we have.
Flip the coin, and it came up heads. There we go.
We need to get 7 out of 8 of these objectives, so we can fade 1. We have 1 of 7.
I mean, generally speaking, with these flags, you're not gonna probably fade a boss unless you're just not leveled up enough, but you're probably going to be coming back to it. It's pretty rare that you see one taken completely off the board and then you see 8 get done, and I just realized there was a ninja shirt in Watery Pass, so there you go. So yeah, that edge is pretty well equipped early, because I think a bandana was also located as well.
That's right, we got a bandana, and we're going to have a super cane, a super edge,
And a defense sword. My word.
Wow. There's one missing character we haven't seen yet, I believe, on the mountain.
At this point, this seed that's been rolled is basically designed for this edge.
Okay, Dathus is going to get the good news of Kane to equip any variety of defense swords and good spears for it.
So we continue to see our runners still accumulating items, getting their characters set up. Very shortly, we'll start to see how the seed's going to start spelling itself out. We'll see what maybe Antlion has, what maybe is going on at Fabul, maybe ordeals, if you're looking for 3 easy boss checks. So we'll see what the seed is looking for, and we'll see what our runners decide to do first.
See Sheep doing something I haven't seen in a long time, playing Red Moon Flag, and that's back rowing, getting his characters set up for the back row glitch, which is a really nice bug in this game. It's in Blue Moon, you can do that, and that means you can have your characters attack as if they were in the front row in the back row after you apply the glitch by equipping a back row item. In the Red Moon, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's going to come in handy. Oh, do we have another objective here? No, it's a water hag. But no, with the back row glitch, it is very nice, especially early on when you maybe have a character that's really good weapon-wise, but you're having a little bit of trouble finding armor. So it's definitely very helpful early on if you're looking for your big damage dealers to not be taking nearly as much in terms of HP loss over the course of the early part of a game. Although, granted, people will also do it later on as well. But especially early on when you're still kind of looking for that extra piece of armor, unless you're Edge right now, who is basically good to go. You know, it's a nice little handy thing to have in your back pocket.
Okay, Dathus also picking up Rosa, and everyone's seen all the characters now.
And we see a package coming out of Antlion, so potentially an objective if one of our runners decide to check it. It does take a little bit of time, but it can be a very bit of a cheeky check that might actually change the course of the race, because some people tend to avoid it much further into a seed.
That package has a extra value that normally would. Sometimes, basically, well, other than a character check, which isn't on these flags, the only reason you'd really check a package is to check for demist. Now, since the boss hunt, one of our bosses could be there, and there are, I believe, 8 total aided bosses. So even though package is a slow check, you could think of it as a percentage towards your go mode.
Well, in the meantime, looks like Sheep is taking a look at Fabul. Dathus is up on Mount Ordeals, finding a CPU, which you're not looking for, but you're also okay to see it in this spot where you have the equipment to take it out pretty quickly rather than spending way more time than you ever want to in that fight.
A quick dart and getting up the orbs, and that fight went very quickly.
Also using the white spear for the actual white spell. I'm also here for that.
Right, so Bedward gave us our 3 key items, so this demist won't actually give us anything, and it's not an objective, so not as valuable a demist as you normally might have. Also, we haven't seen a boss that we need yet on Ordeals, it's possible somebody resets out of it if there's no key item or boss in the third spot.
I mean, depending on how you're feeling with how many levels you've grinded, you probably just let it go anyway, even if you come up with completely nothing.
Yeah, I've yet to see it, but I'm waiting for somebody just a full reset out of the mountain here.
Well, we were talking earlier about, seeing bosses that you don't want to see later on in the seed. Well, Sheep unfortunately got a boss that you do want to see later on in the seed if you're looking for some free XP. Instead, King and Queen Evelyn are just at Fabul. Not a big deal. And also just getting a glass helmet for your trouble. Not the greatest thing.
A bit of a zonk there. There's some XP. And the glass helmet is a good defensive item.
Yeah, you do appreciate the glass helmet early, but you would have appreciated, a hook or really any key item almost more, except for a sand ruby. That doesn't really help much here.
Maybe we'll change our tune if Ogo is at King Queen spot, punching quickly and hard. I'm
sure both of our runners are considering the bosses that they're coming across already and doing the math on what could still be hanging out in the King Queen spot and going, I really hope that's not true.
That makes a good point that we're fast anchored with Edge. And with that D-Mist, since we got to Mist phase, we had to wait a long time for it to revert back to a phase where Dathus could hit it.
Well, still gets through just fine regardless, just takes a little bit longer. We'll see what the key item and the boss is here in the mirror. As Edge doesn't become a paladin, but does get the pass.
Well, we're keeping that.
Unfortunately, the boss is not what you're looking for, but, it is a quick version of this boss, or at least as quick as it's going to get.
We're not going to get the traditional dialogue that we all know and love.
Love is a very strong word.
I'm a big Luge fan. He reminds me of Farnsworth, Futurama.
You know what? I kind of see it. I'm here for it.
Good news, everyone! Now you will always read Luge's dialogue in this voice.
Oh my! Did Luge just pop into chat?
I'm not sure. I can't explain what's happening. Well, with that being said here, Dathus going to make the trip out of Ordeals, while Sheep is now in the process of doing it himself. Going through that CPU fight first, and then following up with our following two battles, but it is what it's going to be, and we'll see now where Dathus goes next.
We haven't found our hook yet. Where is our hook?
Well, considering what's left on the map, it's got to be a Baron Inn, unless there is a chain through Baron Inn. Because we've seen Fabul, we've seen Antlion.
And why we don't have Edward in the seed? Kind enough to give us things still.
Now, that wasn't really the kindest thing, because no one's going to be able to wear that, so that's just free money.
Edward appreciates the need to finance your adventure and gives us a very expensive item. And fortunately, since we're on Blue Moon, that's going to sell at full price.
But yeah, now Dathus doesn't know this because Dathus hasn't done either Antlion or Fabul, but yeah, Baron Inn is now the only real place left that is going to give a key item that might be what you're looking for, whether it is the hook itself or a chain. So we'll see how that turns out on his end or on Sheep's, because Sheep will be going straight to Baron Inn after this ordeal is over.
Runners are making pretty good time here. We're sub 20 minutes and we've almost done all of our traditional overworld checks. -1.
Yeah, it is possible that at some point one of our runners will take a little bit of a dig into Eblin Castle. That will take a little bit more time up, but as it stands, both of our runners running through relatively quickly here early on. Just a matter of seeing where the seed is going to take them and getting the real work done very soon once that hook comes into their possession.
Dathus taking a moment to get oodles of money. Tries a silk web. How are you anchoring this one in the runner's shoes?
I mean, I may be the wrong person to ask because I'm not very well versed in magic. I just look at who am I going to want to use the most right now, and that's where I put him early. I honestly don't think too hard about the magic that is agility, which is probably why I'm a little bit slower than others.
Well, when you're going down the hook route, those bosses are very quick, and almost always you want to have somebody slow in your middle slot to get all your other characters basically as quick as that boss. I'm curious to see what our anchoring plan is. I didn't see a curse string yet, but I have seen a dwarf axe, which slows Sid down by 5. So that might be the route that Dathus is taking.
But what we are seeing at Baron Inn is a requirement, and a very easy requirement there is karate goes down real quick.
Didn't even get a chance to say ouch.
And then unfortunately, it is a noodle, but not the noodle you're looking for, as Leviathan is in the second spot.
Yes Noodle is the Nope Noodle.
And then after that, we will find out whether it is a hook or a chain 2-1.
A slow cast on Levy. This is a pretty slow spot. And now Leviathan is going even slower.
Anything to make these fights easier early on, because oddly enough, Baron Inn 2, depending on what's hanging out there, can actually be a lot more challenging than you would think, even with the characters that are in their party. In this case, for Dathus, it's more just taking a little bit longer than you would like to, but depending on what your party setup is sometimes, this boss is a lot more terrifying than you'd expect.
And we get our hook instantly, so we are ready to make the dive, or, as you referred to earlier, we do a little bit more looting in Evelyn.
Yeah, and Dathus may also consider looking at Antline and Fabul as well to see if there's maybe, if he's not ready to go down the hook route, maybe one of those two locations might give him a Twin Harp or an Earth Crystal and just give him, or even a Baron Key, I should say, and give him something else to do just to see if he can get a couple more objectives ticked off, or at least get a little bit more grinding in. And as we see perfectly right there, he goes straight to Antlion, where the package will be waiting for him.
Also see if anyone does an early check in the package.
We shall see. Sheep also has to... Sheep will find the karate here at the Baron Inn spot, but also still hasn't checked Hobbs to see that the officers are there, so we'll see if Sheep makes all those boss checks before going after that hook route, as he is about to find that he is getting here at the end of these two fights.
Getting the news that there's no gauntlet here today. We'll find the other blue robe elsewhere.
Yeah, when you really think about it, most of the easy fights are already being taken off, because you now have Waterhag off, you have the officers off, you have King and Queen also off the table. So unless you maybe get lucky and King Queen might be Baron guards, you're gonna be probably facing something that might be a tad bit irritating at this point. The odds just kind of seem to be leaning into that favor right now. Granted, it's not an evil wall at the very least, but there are still many things that could be in that spot that, would be less than appreciated.
Like a Dark Knight.
That would be one of them, yeah.
We'll see what is awaiting us in about 10 minutes or so.
If we're lucky, we'll get a package check and we'll see another thing taken off the board there, but we'll see if our runners decide to check that now or if they decide to go, I'll do that cheeky check later. I want to, keep on task here.
We have a pass, which is a pretty strategic item on this set. If you have a pass, you might be more inclined to do the moon density earlier than, say, a cheeky package check. Because we got 8 bosses up there once we get a darkness crystal. We can get back there without having to walk the lunar subterranean twice.
Well, looks like we are going to get a package check, though, as Dathus briefly saying hello to Iridius Mom before realizing, oh yeah, I don't have to do anything with this. So I guess I'm just going to open up this box now of flying flaming swords.
Well, it is considerate to check on her,
It seems kind of fitting, though, that we're now burning this pig over here in the village of Mist when it's still kind of a morning sea that we're getting to watch being raised here. So, some bacon is well appreciated.
Is there any barbecue in this seed?
I mean, if it's free, I'm here for it.
Free but not expired. Check.
So while Dad's checking that package, looks like Sheep is... Oh, no, maybe... Oh, no, going to check bosses first before the hook route. Very smart there.
See the evil wall, and we'll see if we'll get a Possumorphia style destruction of evil wall or a reset. We reset.
So we'll see if the cheeky play here from Dathus pays off, or if this is, unfortunately, one of those cases where you just kind of, you give up a couple of minutes for a gamble. But I always appreciate a good package check gamble. Also, the pig does need to sleep. It's very fair.
One thing to take into consideration, whatever boss you fight here, say you have a boss here, and boss, what's a dark elf? Boss at 65,000. Fighting one here is going to go a lot quicker. Even though you spent some more time to go find it, your actual fight doesn't take as long. So there's some tactical advantage to it.
Well, Death's had enough. He is going to make his way over to the hook route, while Sheep is going to get the good news that there is a boss there. So that will tie us up at 2 apiece.
You know what key item I don't want to see early on?
What would that be?
Tower key. You know why? Jeep Launcher has a theory that keyless tower is the correct play 100% of the time. And if we don't find the tower key, we're gonna see if when all the chips are on the line, if he really holds to that ethos.
So it's more of a case of, oh, come on, you're not even giving me the chance to have the option, boo. As Sheep gets through that fight and now sits tied at 2 apiece with Dathus, will be making his way to the hook route as well. We'll see if he also checks Castle Eblin or if he just goes straight into the cave.
I'm going to pick up our Crystal Sword or X-Cal here. It's like there's always one on T Wildish in Eblin.
Well, if you get one now, it's just going to be Gil at this point. So you're hoping to see something a little different.
I think in this case you might actually prefer the X-Cal to the Crystal Sword.
You would. Or I guess, free 100 health. No, it's not terrible either, but it's not what you're looking for, but it's better than other things you could get, I suppose.
Apples are pretty tasty. Yeah, that's not exactly what you're looking for, other than the XP.
But a Stardust Rod, so that's going to go very well with your Palom.
That Stardust Rod is best in slot. Looks like Sheep might be diving here.
I mean, given the equipment you've seen for Edge and Kane already, you're probably looking at it and going, you know what? I've got enough. I'm good to go. Dathus is going, probably thinking also about the extra XP just for safety, and then you never know, you might come across something real nice in there. Not even just with the trap chest, but even just the normal chests themselves, as we already saw with that Stardust Rod.
Found hourglasses and coffins in the item shop here, which are really, really good. That opens up any number of free hook grinds. Sheep wants to take them. We could very quickly dispatch ogres, or we could go back to Eblin if you want more levels.
Yeah, definitely some versatility, and like we said earlier as well, I mean, there still are the Baron guards on the, or not the Baron, the Kaipo guards on the table. So no, oh god, brain is losing it. The other guards, the 2 guards, that's the one I'm looking for. You know, they could also be there, and that's just a free fight right there. So you know, those coffins could definitely come in handy as well.
Oh, and Sheep finds the Staleman chest, which kind of low-key super dangerous unless you have an hourglass.
Yeah, it's not the most fun fight.
Hit hard, they put you to sleep. Their treasure isn't even weighted all that good, not a bunch of XP either, so kind of rude.
Yeah, at the very least, with the one chest you'll see in Castle 11 where it has the skulls, at least you can take those away pretty quickly. That Staleman, though, still a bit of a pain.
It is getting a much-needed nap. A lot of work. Engineering and having to fight things.
Well, we have 2 traps. We see a samurai shield on Sheep's side and a white shirt on Dathus' side. So far, Castle Eblin, I mean, not overwhelmingly amazing, but definitely still providing some value here.
It's definitely has more value with, ooh, there's a ninja sword. More value, a Cecil party.
My word, the amount of white spears we're seeing in this seed already.
And it is Rubicant.
So it seems very poetic that we are seeing some vanilla here with Dathus racing this. So, because we know it's not elements, we know it's a ruby. So that is a required boss waiting at the top.
I'm trying to recall if we've seen any ice gear.
Not that I have noticed. I think I've seen a Boreas somewhere, but I don't think we've seen anything ice-wise in terms of weaponry.
Boreas isn't gonna cut through all that HP. Now, the magic isn't so powerful there, so you could Zerk Edge if you want to.
Well, while Sheep is continuing to make their run up the tower here, Dathus, in the last part of Castle Eblin here, I believe still has one more trap to go. I can't remember if he's done all 3 or not.
Did see some ice arrows out of a chest here, and
looks like he's done all 3. So I didn't see what one of the. I think it must have been the Black Cat chest. I don't think I saw what came out of that one. If you caught what that was, that would be greatly appreciated.
we found a lot of darts. The solution might be for Ruby to basically just chuck a bunch of darts.
So chat letting us know it was a second Stardust Rod. So not the greatest in terms of all the loot, but you're going to get quite a lot of money in here. So if you're looking to buy some hourglasses and some coffins, you got a lot of choice here. You got a lot of opportunity to spend quite a bit.
And Berserk and Blink are going to be pretty nice as well.
Yeah, depending too on if Dathus decides to go after these two traps as well, get a little bit more XP on his characters than Sheep has. We'll see if that ends up making that fight a little bit faster, as we see a Lunar Staff is our final trap item here on this route.
I see have Quake. Particularly any attack you can do on Ruby that's powerful and doesn't add a counter is nice. It saves time and varying degrees of pain.
Well, we were mentioning ice weapons. Well, there's an ice brand, so that's going to keep you nice and happy going into that Ruby.
That ice brand was a nice loot, and you don't know that we see that pickup from Dathus, having taken so many traps already. I might want to avoid this one. Less comfortable with his levels.
Well, we shall see. I mean, Dathus is still currently looting, so maybe just thinking, man, if I just find one really good item in these traps, I'm set. So we'll see.
And Sheep answering a question from earlier. We're going with a Sid Anchor. I believe we have Dwarf Axe. At least I hope so, because it starts with 9 agility, and he's taking levels. And 9 agility does not get you to get everyone to RA1. There's a piece of loot close to both of our hearts, yes, Radical. We saw a Gaia hat. As a couple Gaia hat veteran pink puffs in the booth today. Thank you for doing comms with me.
I'm contractually obligated to now follow that by saying hat, hat, hat.
Indeed, hat, hat, hat.
We did see, though, Dathus mostly done looting except for now going and getting that last trap. Did manage to just get really lucky by opening the one chest along the way that just happened to have another white sphere. So a very fortunate find there, just opening one last chest and getting a nice start out of it.
The white spear? We'll show you how.
Yeah, taking on that last trap fight while Sheep prepares to see what is in the King-Queen spot, and it is the Maga Sisters.
We have a lot of things to deal with this. We have rune rings, darts, less thing. Ouch.
Yeah, Cindy smacking pretty hard on that spot.
A few things you can do here. You can quake, you can throw darts. They don't like Palom. You could blink.
Yeah, thankfully the magic isn't going to do nearly as bad, but if Cindy decides to be a real piece of work and just go after your best character like we saw her do immediately to Palom, it's going to make this fight not necessarily super dangerous, just super annoying.
Kind of like to see that wall bounce onto Edge. That way, if Sandy's the last one left and then tries to charm, she won't be able to get Edge, wrecking your whole party.
Oh, with the party no longer getting wrecked, you see Cindy is now off the table, so we are not going to see any more revives. It's just a matter of getting through the remainder here. Ooh, though, that virus.
Right now that Palom is been actually able to get the Quake off, this should wrap.
Indeed, he does. And that is
Now-
one fight down.
A safety saving here.
Based on just how long that fight went, I would, just to be safe. But then again, I also don't know how well I would be handling this Ruby fight. I always safety save.
Right, and we are getting a safety save. Probably prudent given the targeting there, and don't have Ruby can be a bit of an adventure at a location.
I just safety save because I think every fight's difficult, so I always cover my butt.
Here on the hook routes, that's often a good decision.
You see, in this case, I don't know if Sheep did it in their fight, but I see Dathus putting the mute dagger on. That's going to make this a little bit quicker as well.
There's our first white spear chuck.
Yeah, it's about the right spot you want to be doing it for. And yeah, that Cindy went away real quick.
And that Ruby's going quick himself. Like, we're talking about agility. I'm guessing that Sid probably has somewhere around, even with the Dwarf Axe, 8 or 9 agility. When you cast ice on Ruby with this cloak up, it cures him. So you gotta also try to time that if you're gonna be casting ice.
Dathus, on the other hand, not doing the safety save, and Dathus went through that Maga Sisters fight way faster, so we're seeing the advantage of the gear that he was running, not to mention the extra levels going on here. So we'll see if he gains even more time here in this Ruby fight, as Sheep, not like in super trouble right now, but just having a bit more of an issue than I think he would like to have currently.
One danger with Ruby, even though the magic power isn't that powerful here, glares will still take you out, and he's still punching pretty hard, so that if you're berserked and the wrong characters go down, even if you life them up, they're going right back down.
We did see, though, that Dathus didn't pick up that Ice Brand, so his cane isn't going to do nearly as much damage, although on Sheep's side, taking a wipe there, and it's going to have to try that over again.
And I don't know that we found a curse ring on Dathus' side either, so this is a quick Ruby. I like the Silk Web use.
Oh no, he does have an Ice Brand, though.
Slow him down a bit, and if you use that Ice Brand, maybe do some jumps, Kane, instead of, there we go, we see Kane jumping. I'm liking this approach here on Dathus' side.
Yeah, and at this point, Dathus just yeeting any massive amounts of damage that he has just to try to get through this as quickly as possible, because this is not a great fight to be running into.
Do have access to the Fire 1 glitch here, so should need multiple revives at once. Palom throws a fire at Ruby, he'll revive everybody in your party.
Ooh, getting a nice 2 off before the cloak came out, so that was some healing there. Not a whole lot in that defense sword throw, kind of offset that, but still, timing not quite working out there.
Right, once more into the fray with the Berserk cast on Kane. We're gonna try to cure our way through, and do about 2k per round.
Nicely done on Dathus' side, using the flood there on Edge's side to also get some extra damage in rather than wasting all of the darts. And we see our first person now through the hook route and on their way underground.
GG's, Dathus. That was a good fight. The slow, methodical approach to Ruby, but very safe, and gets through it.
And we'll see if Sheep can get through on the second try here. Still a bit low on health here, but we'll see if he has the damage output to kind of finish this off. Although at this point, needs to get this off here in one more hit.
Oh no.
Nope. Just not enough. And this is the point where you start asking if the real advantage was Dathus actually spending that time in Castle Evelyn and getting those extra levels.
And a very methodical approach to Ruby. I mean, going Burr is great. Every once in a while, you have to take the foot off the gas a little bit, which is something I struggle at myself. So, you like all that damage going out fast, but you also got to mitigate those counters. We'll see the approach this time. Time's the charm. Good luck, sheep.
Well, as I can see on Dathus' side, you were talking about Keyless Tower earlier. Looks like we're getting one.
Oh, he knows who he's up against. He's not going to get metagamed.
That definitely appears to be the case. Also, just realizing that Dathus initially thought about throwing a White Sphere towards the end of that Ruby fight and then stopped. Assuming, because he realized, wait, that's my last one. I need that for Kane when I get done this fight. Wait, I don't want an Ice Brand the entire way through.
And that Flood was pretty powerful too, so actually almost as powerful as a White Spear throw would be.
Yeah, I mean, considering how we don't see Flood used very often, and if you can have a case where it goes for almost 4,000 damage, yeah, you take that.
I wonder if he put the Rune Ring on edge for defense and ended up actually upping attack there.
I think I might know why Dathus is out checking Keyless Tower. Must have peaked at the boss, because seeing that purple road means you got a 50-50 shot of seeing another objective here, so we shall see if that coin flip comes through. We've already had it work once.
And
ooh,
oh no.
We're only 1 for 3 on coin flips so far.
Well, there could still be value here. We could have our Darkness Crystal, which represents access to 8 objective chances.
I mean, we could also just go really funny here and just give the tower key, just, you know.
True.
Just a completely reverse keyless tower. Technically, it's keyless tower, but it won't be any more after this, if that's what happens.
That's a good out for sheep. Should it give the key and that give you nothing? Well, you didn't do keyless tower. You did a full tower.
And also Sheep finally getting through that Ruby fight, so we now have both of our runners underground at basically just shy of the 45-minute mark.
GG's the Sheep.
Yeah, you know, after 2 wipes, that fight felt very, very cathartic after just barely not edging out the first 2.
So far, we got a few fiends on here in battle today.
Yeah, just in some cases the ones you want, and in some cases the ones you don't want, and she peeking also as well. So we'll probably be seeing that Keyless Tower play immediately in the same aspect. Because, like you said, that's Sheep's mantra.
Right now, Sheep's like, yep, like I said, 100% of the time, it's the right play. You lining up tower.
As we can see on Dathus' side, as he's nearly finished that Mylon and is now seeing the message that it's time to go. Even though that Mylon is not too much of an issue, because those lit ones aren't really going to do that much, the HP in this slot is just so high, so that fight takes way longer than you ever think it would have. Only getting a defense sword, though.
Not an immediate keyless tower play. Would this all have been a long game to get his opponent to do keyless tower? While fading it?
Look, if we're playing mind games, I'm definitely here for the extra bit. Although I would assume Sheep is probably looking at after that last fight being like, man, I could have used a couple more levels here. Maybe just thinking, look, I should probably at least get a Siren done here just to try to bounce my characters up just a little bit more so I have a bit more breathing room than I did. Because that Rat Rubicon fight was definitely a lot more trouble than I think Sheep was hoping it would be.
I wonder if we're gonna see a Yanker at some point, because it gets faster as you keep giving XP, and we see Sid getting dropped here before taking the egg. So that's definitely on Sheep's mind.
Yep, we'll see what Dathus decides to do now with the entire underground in front of him. If he decides to do a quick grind to get some levels going, if he just goes straight to... looks like selecting Dwarf is his first hit, which makes sense. You do have the Warp Glitch available to you.
Dwarf is a nice place because you get a key item and 2 boss checks, first being a Sparkle.
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen any Sparkles yet, so we got a 2 in 5 chance right now of seeing something we want, because we're looking for Pale Dim and we're looking for Ogopogo.
And do we have value in the first check? We have an Eyeball. Doom.
Yeah, that's not really value. Although it looks like Dathus is going to try the Star Veil method just to keep the count from ever reaching 0 for at least a considerable amount of time while he tries to take this boss down. Very well done there.
So you can, with that Star Veil, that accomplishes some good things for you. You can actually have Plague defeat itself. Also, since there's no timer on Edge, it will think it hasn't done its job here and just keep trying to count. While Edge remains invincible to it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make this fight at least not nearly as terrifying as you try to work your way around the count, but it's still going to take a little bit of time just for the HP amount here and not having that many sources of damage, but at least you should be fine here. We also see on Sheep's End the freebie in the Fey March offering you a Baron Key, and we'll see what the bosses hand out here as we're still looking for a few.
Baron Key is one of the most powerful key items in this seed because it gives you access to 3 bosses. Now in this case, we know that one of them is the one that we need, but still, there are 2 other bosses now available to Sheep.
Well, we see the dolls with Calbrana, and we see an Octomam, so not really going to help you much here, but it is K-Summon, so the dolls are a fight that you can do right now if you really want to.
Wake and Hourglasses, and that is a pretty free fight.
It depends on what Sheep decides they want to do first, because with Baron Key, you now have another key item check along with 3 boss fights in front of you as well. 2 of them that you're probably going to have no issue with. Granted, we know that one of them, I believe, was the Dark Imps, so it's not necessarily, going to be objective based. Maybe the Kainatsu spot does, maybe the basement does, but at least it's giving Sheep some options to work with. You could also, if you really want to, take a cheeky run at Sheila 1 and just say hello to Yang down there in the Sylph Cave.
That's right, even though key items aren't as high prioritized, and statistically speaking, Sheep's just a darkness away from glow mode, you'd be fading boss checks to prioritize a non-boss check item. So it's a gamble. Sheila 1, strangely, less free than in normal tournaments.
Also appreciating the extra memes there from Sheep checking the job dwarf. We have a mining shovel machine operator, I think it said.
These runners, prolific members of the Restream team, so we're trying to do them some justice, and they're doing all the memes that we would hope that they would do.
Well, as a theme that this seed has been so far, key items in relatively short supply early on, as a power shirt only comes out of loot or a Seal Cave. Dwarf Castle offering an adamant, which isn't that helpful either. So apart from that Baron Key that we saw in the Fey March, you still got some work to do. It looks like those K-Summon spots may also be a big part of this, unless there is a real chain attached to maybe Baron Key or something else that comes out of K-Summon, because could see a Tower Key, could see an Earth Crystal, or you could see that Darkness Crystal that really can open things up.
Yeah, that's kind of a big zonk. Dathus probably isn't feeling too great after doing Keyless Tower, zonking, and now Dwarf zonking as well. But what Dathus doesn't know is Sheep wiped Ruby a couple times, and we are in a very close race.
Yeah, and also Sheep is doing almost the exact same check, so they're going tit for tat right now. So it's not necessarily falling behind. It's just, you know, you're guessing wrong right now. And I mean, again, keep in mind there isn't really a bad play here because it's all guessing at this point. I mean, there are a couple of spots where you can peek and have an idea of what you're walking into, but generally speaking, you got no clue what each check is going to lead you to. So, you know, some people will say, I wouldn't check this first. Some people would say, I go here first. At the end of the day, if you end up guessing a certain spot and it gets you what you're looking for, you're the genius.
Dwarf Castle's a great strategic check. It just, in hindsight now, it's turns out to be not such a great check. Although, we appreciate the power shirt. That's gonna get some more damage, and who knows, maybe that we forge at some point and get super weapons and good stuff.
Absolutely. And again, like we just mentioned, Sheep is also doing the exact same check. So Dathus is, you know, maybe thinking that I'm losing some time here to the checks that I'm making, but in actuality isn't. So we're pretty much like evening out here as we see Dathus about to go do the Fey March check. We'll see if Dathus maybe looks at that Calbrena fight, knowing just how few key items he's gotten. Now that Baron key might throw him off of that and just rush straight to Baron, but we'll see.
Other than the Keyless Tower fade, which I'm really loving, knowing that there's a 50% chance too that it's a required boss. Yeah, I'm enjoying the meta.
Yeah, like a lot of the gambles here, like Keyless Tower wasn't. Like, we haven't seen too many gambles apart from the package check. So, in actuality, most of the plays that we've been seeing here are pretty smart. It's just some of them haven't paid out panned out in the way that you would hope them to.
If Deep ends up winning this race because he did Keyless Tower, I'll have questions. Where are we going next? Going to Sheila 1 or going to chase that Baron key?
If I was going to guess here, I would probably say Sheep might just go check Baron. I mean, if you already faded the Fey March bosses, you're probably not going to touch them for a hot minute anyway. So unless Sheep maybe just does a cheeky, quick Sheila 1 trip just to get that out as well.
Alright, we're getting some healing, so maybe we will see some dolls today.
Yeah, Dath is just kind of doing a quick eye of his party, being like, I should be able to do this, right?
You don't especially want to come back to the underground again. We're running a bit shy on places for Darkness Crystal to be. The more places you check, the more likely you are to give this a try. You don't have a Darkness yet.
Now, the dolls are still going to hit decently hard, but assuming that they don't hit anybody specifically over and over, as they've pretty evenly spread out the damage here. Nobody's falling yet. Oh, I spoke too soon. There goes Yang.
Ouch.
You do see the hourglasses go off, so at least the back row dolls are not going to be going anywhere.
Sheep about to get bad news of Zonk and the Adamant.
Again, though, the power shirt is still going to be a welcome addition. Not exactly what you're hoping for, but there are far worse things that you could be seeing out of that spot.
Like a sad ruby.
I mean, it's at this point, it's a key item, and you might just take that just for the fact that you're running so low on them.
True. You can also be able to get underground now. Stay safe.
And there goes the Quake. That might be the end here. No, almost, but not
Stubborn
quite.
doll.
But thankfully gets rid of it. I don't know how much more time he could have had on that stop, so thankfully avoiding the full-on Calbrena fight. And there's your keyless tower now from Sheep.
Ah, here we go.
And that's what we want to see. We want to see a twin harp there. It's not required, but come on. With the way that our runners have been memeing so far, you know it almost is at this point in their minds.
Well, it could be our darkness crystal too. We still haven't seen it, and there's not a lot of spots left. So, I mean...
Ooh, also Dathus just swag walking into Octomam. That's going to be interesting, because Octomam hits pretty hard in this spot, and is also quite fast.
And again, I don't know that we have a curse string, so I don't know that we're anchored here. Though it kind of seems like we might be, because Octoman would usually hit you about 5 times by now. If you were fast anchored at this spot.
At least Dath is realizing what needs to be done here, trying to get a quick blink here on Rosa, so at least your healer is going to be hanging around. Although I imagine at this point, Dath is kind of smacking himself a little bit for getting rid of the 3 Thunderclaws, if I remember correctly, that he sold off. That could have definitely helped this fight.
See if Sheep...
Ooh, look at that. Look at that nuking Grimoire.
Arg. Curious to see if Sheep resets out of the tower here. Dathus took the XP, and I believe it was a defense sword. Walk that out.
Well, Dathus, no matter what happens, is not going to be resetting, because you already didn't save on this fight, so you're just hoping to get through it. Now, the Octomam design is going away pretty quickly here, so looks like we might be doing okay, although if Octomam doesn't cooperate here and hits the wrong things, this might not go as well as we want it to.
And one nice thing about Octomam is that she slows down after taking hits. We can see there's just 3 tentacles now. We got blinks up, got Zerkers. I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, at this point, Dathus is trying to do as much damage as he can and gets through that fight. So the Fey March is now done. We'll see if that also leads to a key item and really gives him some options to go forward with. A Pan would actually be really nice here. But just another white shirt. And I don't believe anybody else can equip that.
So, it's going to be pretty important, I think, if the darkness is behind Baron or Sheila, or if it's behind the Twin Harp. If it's behind Twin Harp, then Dathus has a pretty big advantage.
Yeah, if Darkness ends up being behind Twin Harp right now, that is a huge pickup for Dathus. But it all depends on what he decides to run with first.
Dathus might feel inclined to chase the Harp because he did the extra check. And let's say we go through Sylph now, we take all this damage. And save right outside of Fabul, and we're all injured up, and there's a Zonk in Fabul. You're very incentivized to do Harp after that, because you can get through that cutscene pretty quickly with everyone all damaged. And you took the time to fight the dolls in the first place. So
yeah, that's definitely true. Especially going through Sylph Cave now, it almost seems like it would be the best choice to just commit to the Harp at this point, because you just got the free skip of the first phase of this Twin Harp battle. So we'll see what Dathus decides to do here.
Conversely, if Sheep now goes and takes goes right to Baron Castle, and that has the answer, then the momentum swing right back to him. Good back and forth race. So. Well,
as we see Sheep opting to reset, yeah. Not thinking the XP is worth the walk at this point.
That was a good move, and has quite a bit of time.
I was just about to say, Dathus forgetting about the opportunity to just put the hovercraft where you need it if you come back later, and remembering to do that. So smart little play there. It looks like though he's going to start at Fabul, which means that he's now going to go into this fight with health, I believe, because I don't think he did the initial Fabul fight.
Oh, did he fade Fabul this whole time? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he did the Fabul fight. I think he went straight from Antlion to the Underworld. Yep. So he's gonna get the bad news here that that's not worth anything.
Double Zonk here, you can reset and still have all your HP low for Harp if you want to do it.
That is true.
Oh, and now Sheep is gonna go do spells.
Well, there's your free fight done again on Dathus' side. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was a key item in this. I think it was just some sort of just small item.
Edge taking out some Oedipus complex there on his dad. Ouch. Yeah, we got a glass
That's right.
hat.
It was the glass helmet. Yeah. So at this point, we'll see if Sheila One comes up with anything, and like you said, we'll see if Dathus just says, "Nah, screw it. I'm just going to go straight to Harp and just reset with the health low." But it really depends on what comes out here.
Oh, we're going back.
Ooh. Okay, so new plan. We can go right back down, get our health back down to 1, and then do a couple more checks. I thought our runners were memeing, but apparently the seed is deciding to do a little bit on its own.
Indeed, and so the same situation will be in place, assuming we go do Pan now.
Yeah, it looks like he took a safety save just in case it doesn't work the way that he wants to and waste a bit of time, so that's a smart play as well. I mean, I imagine at this point, if you're going to get 2 more checks, I can't see that this pan doesn't give you something that you want at this point.
We've had a lot of Zonk so far. There got to be key items somewhere, right?
I mean, there is a chance that you see a Sand Ruby and a Magma Key, so that is possible. But at this point, like, even if you get something like a Spoon, you would probably still take that because that's a real nice start to have. But you're still looking at things like Tower Key, Luca Key, Earth Crystal, Darkness Crystal, even a Rat Tail. There is a lot of opportunity with these 2 checks that you get something that you're not going to need to reset for that save for.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay, so that's another, that gives us access to another boss. We have now access to just about, we're almost guaranteed modal find.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by this play too. If he's going to go straight, oh no, he's going to check Tomer first. But if he goes straight down to Luca just to quickly check that boss and get it over with, that's also a smart play. Because if you're down here, you might as well get that over with. Because man, you don't want to be the one that doesn't make that cheeky check and finds out that that was a required boss down there. Also appreciating that both of our runners in this race are going to give us Job Dwarf.
Well done. Job Dwarf is elusive. We had a Job Dwarf impersonator there.
Are we sure that Job Dwarf was a mining shovel machine operator? Because I feel like that one was a ninja, actually.
Or salsa dancer or something.
Sheep not pulling a dad that's deciding that I'm going to save after this fight before I go take on Octoman.
Both runners making a lot of same decisions, really fading Baron.
I think the logic at this point is, I'm already here underground, why don't I just get all of this through? Because, I mean, I can go through Baron quickly at any point. Although with the basement fight, potentially, maybe they also want a couple extra levels going in that forehand too? Who knows?
That basement fight might be looming on their mind. There's like, yes, there's 2 bosses there, but one might be like something kind of scary and tough, like Ogo Pogo.
I mean, assuming it's even something you want to see down there.
At this point, we don't have a darkness crystal, so I mean, anywhere you go has a good chance to give it to you. So there's a higher risk of aiding any spot at this point.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say
Resetting it.
around this point in the race, we're about halfway through the boss pool that we're looking to go through, so the math is going to slowly and slowly grow in terms of the percentages of what they should be able to find here. And as we see Dathus is about to check what's sitting here in Seal Cave, if that math works out here, and it doesn't, but at least you're happy to see that you don't have to fight that.
That's one more boss out of the pool. It's only a minute and change to go check it.
Because, you know, you don't want to think about the fact that if, you know, the last boss you're looking to find is sitting in Giant and DKC is blocking your way in the Element spot, it's good to know you don't ever have to consider that fight again.
Starting to look like we're going to have quite a bit of objectives hanging out with Antlion up there on the moon.
Bold of you to assume Antlion's there. It's a meme that I don't get to see very often anymore. It seems like Antlion has heard wind of this meme and decided, you know what, I'm done giving you guys the jokes. I'm going wherever I feel like now.
The guy has to vacation, you know? There's a lot of stuff to see. There, you got towers and caves.
Oof. And there's that reset. Luca Key and a Protect Ring, not really worth it.
Okay, so do we go to Harp or Baron now? Mercidia.
Maybe we're looking at it at our anchor.
Yeah. On the anchor shift.
Looks like Porum's back on the menu.
Or a anchor.
Oh no, I forgot about the Sid. That's right.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're bypassing the Palin. That's an interesting choice.
That is interesting. For no, chat makes a good point. If we're thinking about anchors right now, then we probably are doing Baron.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We want to make sure we get that harp in. I'm sure unless things go really crazy here in the chaining, we probably will see a harp at some point. But I want it now.
If we see a Darkness Crystal, I think Harp is kind of off the menu. Although both runners have been pretty thorough in checking bosses. We've even seen like a package check. So, see.
Yeah, we also see Sheep going back into Cave Evelyn, I assume, to pick up more hourglasses or I'm assuming hourglasses at this point.
Yeah, if you're thinking you have Gauntlet on the moon, a lot of those gauntlets go by quicker when they're just standing there, or especially like on the Giant. You'll appreciate an hourglass.
John Burkhead in the chat pointing out, did Dathus potentially heal and or save? I don't recall a save outside of Baron, and oh, well, at least we know there's health. Okay. We've at least established that part. And there's those pesky red imps that we saw at the beginning of the seed. Hour 10 in, they finally get their comeuppance. As I believe Dathus has quite a number of coffins still in his possession, or just adopting to go, no, I'm just gonna burn you.
Okay, and we have, looks like we're both going to Baron. Interesting.
Very interesting, though, that he's not using the coffins here. Maybe, again, like you were saying earlier, maybe considering what that Fabul Gauntlet might end up being and just saying, you know what, I better hang on to these just in case.
I don't recall, but did Sheep set up Sheila 1 and not take Sheila 1? Because if so, that's a play that's going to work in his favor.
I don't believe... Well... Yeah, you know what? I can't actually remember.
We're really close again, all of a sudden.
Yeah, depending on how these items shake out. It's been definitely a very interesting race. Every time we think somebody's starting to pull away, the other comes right back.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth. I'm enjoying this one.
Well, there's our...
Wondering where our objectives are.
Yeah, and there's our, what I believe might be our last free fight before you start going into the nitty-gritty.
We were looking at potentially kind of a rude moon and possibly a rude required moon.
I mean, given that we're an hour 11 in and we've only seen 3 of 7 bosses, yeah, I would say just overall a rude seed, as generous as it's been with, say, darts and memes, apparently. In terms of bosses, and even in key items for the most part, it hasn't been the most generous so far. It really is becoming a race to who finds that darkness first, because it's starting to look like everything is just sitting up there.
I think we should have not faded Harp.
I mean, I always believe that harp needs to be played. I think that's mandatory. I don't care what the flags say, it's always mandatory.
It's definitely a sentiment I share when I'm on comms. Want to hear that?
Right? If you're not the one racing, it's always mandatory. Ooh.
Oh.
That's going to incentivize you to go and do harp now, potentially. But you're going to check that basement first also. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. If the fight isn't something you want, do you still fight it, though, because you are still looking for darkness, and it is K-Summon?
Yeah, I think I fade basement now. Go and do the Earth Crystal where there's easier bosses. Because you're not super powered on levels yet. And if it's not in Zot, you're going to be right back here anyway. Maybe a little bit more power should you look to do Treasury.
Well, we'll see what this pans out as being. Ooh, it's not what you want to see.
Oh, it's something tough, and it's not required, but it might have the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, but it is also Kanatsu, and Dathus is looking right at that, being like, look, if I have to do this, I'm not doing it now. I'm checking a lot before that.
This is it. This is why definitely I would do. Maybe, yeah, doing the Harp first. So, Harp into Hot is going to save a little bit of travel time.
Yeah, the upside is that, yeah, if you do Heart first and then Za, you'll go straight back to Baron. So if he realizes, oh no, that's where the darkness is, well, you at least have more options.
No,
that's a darkness, but
it's in the forest. That was a clever hiding. Who rolled this?
The sea continues to have jokes. But yeah, we'll see Sheep go down and check that Kanatsu spot. We'll see what they decide to do. If Sheep decides to take this fight and that ends up being darkness, oh boy.
Yeah, that's not an easy fight, but it's a doable fight.
I mean, it's not an easy fight, but if it ends up being worthwhile, oh, that could be a very interesting change. But we always appreciate when a runner decides to go for that harp. I know some people in the chat don't like it. Too bad.
Also a reset, Sheep, so the drama continues. I don't know who's gonna win. I don't know.
Yeah, if Kanatsu is hiding that Darkness Crystal, that is not happening anytime soon. Ooh, we're getting the package check too. There we go. Dathus probably having a little bit of regrets not taking this fight earlier when he had basically the free pass through this cutscene.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more time here, sure, if you're not set up for it. Maybe.
But at least Young has his defense up.
And it is time for music. The world's just a little more quiet.
Well, the hunt continues, but at least is the key item going to be something they want to see?
Oh,
Hey!
sheep going to the same location, so we're close.
Look at that. It's almost like a required harp after all.
We got a yellow bird. Nope, eating that.
Now, do you go to Earth Crystal first? I mean, you might check the treasury anyway, but do you want to check the bosses too? That is a bit of a time sink if you're thinking that the moon might just be hiding everything.
At this point, I think I'm going for the moon density and doing Earth last.
John Burkhead in the chat, though, pointing out that you maybe consider the idea of going to Zot because you do have that Rosa and you need exit, potentially.
Oh yeah, true. If you didn't roll with Porum, you might be forced into it. Actually, a reason why sometimes I'll elect for Porum on a seed like this over Rosa.
I mean, considering that you're right next to Zot, yeah, you might as well because you're standing literally next to it as you go into that airship. It'd be pretty. You would have to be really gambling to think, you know what? I know I'm right next to a dungeon that has 2 bosses and potentially another key item that might help out.
We're getting a treasury.
Dathus.
Wait, that treasury.
Oh, hey, look, another white spear. It's not like we haven't seen plenty of those. Ooh, more Hanzo Steel, but an inventory boss. I hope it was worth it.
And we did find an exit, interestingly enough. Almost. Yeah, you're only needing to exit one more time, I believe. So.
Not too bad though. You got one more weapon there for Edge to really balance it out. You got a Zeus gauntlet, which is also very nice.
I'm rating it exit out of 10 because I'm not going to Zot personally. I bet we get a Zot check. We found the 35th boss here, the inventory boss. Loomed large in the treasury.
Well, we now have 2 harps down. We'll see what Sheep decides to do as well.
And I thought I heard Farnsworth come back in chat and talk over harp. That was uncalled for. Dude.
I will not confirm nor deny what I heard. But, you know, chat was deliberating whether or not you go to Zot now, especially when you have the 1 exit you need to finish off the moon. Dathus looking like he wants to see those two bosses. And the first one doesn't come up with anything.
Warping out of Magnus a bit. Cheap. It doesn't feel good to be an hour 20 in and not have any exit, but sometimes that's the way it goes.
Ooh, again, Dathus with the mute dagger coming in handy again here. Very
That
well
mute dagger
optimizing these.
does work.
Well, at the very least, Sheep is going to check the treasury. We'll see if it's a full. Oh, complete. Whoa. You want to talk about a meme? Completely skipping treasury.
Yeah, we're pretty late in. And our power's pretty good. You don't have to take it right now. But looks like we might be looking to pet a dog.
Well, what about the pigs?
Pig meta time.
It's been such an interesting race, though, in the fact that we keep thinking, oh man, if this decision doesn't pay off, the other racer can really come out in front here by taking the other route. They're tit for tatting almost the entire seat. It's been so interesting to watch them flip between who's ahead of the other and still going almost the exact same way every single time.
Yeah, they're making a lot of the same decisions. We have white ear pigs. I think that means it could be a sparkle. Oh, what are you doing here?
Look who's not on the moon again.
We gotta think this is the closest thing you can get to the moon. Not actually be there. But... And that's a nope on the bosses in Spot 2. So you're gonna have some things we want to find on the moon.
Yeah, you're almost hoping at this point that you don't get a key item that gives you direction, because at this point you don't want anything else to pull you away from that darkness crystal potentially. Because at this point, every gamble that has been outside of the darkness since they've gotten it has not paid off at all. I mean, at this point, Tower Key is the only thing really left that can give direction, and that would not be the greatest thing to come across too if that ends up noping into anything.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what routing choices they make now. Assuming you're not gonna go fight Kainazo, you're going to the moon. Where are you going first? Yes, medical.
I would start with the bottom. You got 3 choices that you can save between. And again, no key item. So you start to wonder if the moon's hiding the last couple of things that we would have needed here. You know, maybe that's, that spoon would be a nice thing to find at this point just for the extra dart. Anything else is almost not wanted, even if it's the tower key, because you don't want to have another distraction at this point.
Also, we haven't really had a grind yet, and we know we have kind of a rude moon.
I don't think we've seen sirens in shops, though, have we?
No, I don't think so. And I wonder if that incentivizes maybe a giant play XP. Someone makes that.
Yeah, we'll definitely
interesting decisions to be had still.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I know I would probably just do my normal thing. I almost avoid giant based on, this is more of my skill level talking. This is more just me going, I don't want to think about giant because I know giant is harder. At least I consider giant to be harder. So I would probably just bottom my way up the LST.
There's a lot of hard bosses on the giant that could be really slow too, so it would be a risk even to consider that. But I'm thinking of potential divergence still, and there is potential. I agree with you. I think going down to the bottom, hitting density, getting some more XP. Some of those spots don't have so many HP on them. It's a good play.
But look where we're going. We're going right to Giant.
Also, if you're feeling behind for any reason, I mean, it took a long time to find that darkness. If somebody had, could be thinking, well, my opponent might have went right underground, checked their freebie, beat those free dolls, and then did heart. You might feel behind and think, well, I'm gonna just hit Giant first.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're really just looking at... We're just trying to find these bosses now to get this done. I think at this point, looking at where you're at in an hour and a half, you can't help but think that you're behind, because you don't know what the kind of routes that you're going to be seeing here with your opponent taking. So I think at this point, both of our runners are probably panicking a little bit at this point, just seeing how little they've accomplished, at least in terms of objectives at this point.
What's interesting is these runners have been running pretty similarly. It's possible that Sheep also goes to the Giant.
Well, I think we got the answer to our question on if Sheepa did the Shield 1 check or not, so Sheep's going to find out about that pan.
And do we follow the pan?
Considering that, well, if he does, that's going to mean a Luca check that's going to lead to nothing, so if that's the case on Sheep's side, that gives Dathus a little bit of extra time here to really take a look around the moon and see what he can find in terms of bosses, as we see that first fight here in the Elements spot. It's a Sparkle, so I think we're now at a 2 out of 4 shot? And there's one of them.
Oh, there's one of them. So you give us one more boss up here, and you have hard required Giant. It's not the. We have a Dragoon Spear. It's not the most conventional. Just throw the Dragoon Spear. Okay, we did it. Not the most conventional play, but there's strategic value to it, and we'll see if it pays off. And then if Ali's behind the tower key too, then this is basically required unless you're gonna find and hunt the tower key.
Ooh, Sheep is gonna go get some extra sirens now from the alerts.
Interesting. Dathus has been very well prepared item fights in this season.
Yeah, definitely some very good optimization throughout most of these fights. We saw it come in handy with both the Mega Sisters and the Asura fight. The Rubicon fight, as you said, was very methodical, so doing a very good job of being pretty prepared for most fights. The only one that he wasn't was just that Octomam, and still got through it, even with the no-save risk that he took, so running very well through this.
No save and no anchor, that was impressive.
In the meantime, while we're watching both of these racers go through what they're going to, we haven't had a chance to shout out people because we've kind of neglected to do that because we were too busy thinking about a Mario Kart meme at the beginning of the entire seed. So pointing out the rest of our restream team, obviously Scala Kitty in the restream booth. We have Direwolf in the tracking section, pushing all of the buttons, as little of them as they were in the first half of this race so far. And then obviously we have our runners Dathus and Sheep Launcher. Make sure you're giving everybody a follow, and then obviously myself, CS Radical, and Mike34 in the comms booth, enjoying what has been a very jokey, a very interesting race, to say the very least.
It's been a lot of lead changes. We still don't know. We don't know who's going to win. Sheep could go the moon, and everything could be there, and not on the Giant. So we're still undetermined.
I mean, numerically, Dathus would be in the lead, but we don't know how the routes take. We don't know if a wipe happens somewhere later on in the seed. We don't know how the Z fights are going to go. So, you know, you may look at the numbers after this Pale Dims fight is done and go, man, Dathus has got a bit of a lead here. You never know. Anything can change at any moment here.
And it just got a lot of XP. I believe might have just got screenshotted.
Well, not being at 10 key items, you're not going to get the full amount that you'd like to, but you're still getting some levels, and you're going to be doing some more boss fights because you still got to find 3 more. So, considering if they all potentially are on the moon, you're going to get some XP regardless. So you can make a case that your grind's going to be done by the time you finish all these boss fights that you're walking into.
That's right, but I don't know if Sid's really fast. Moon might be a bit more challenging than it usually could be. Like, you get a punchy gauntlet. I don't know how many hourglasses at this house. I know that.
I know he bought 10 originally. Oh, look at that!
Hard required giant. Oh my.
Well then, now if you see a sparkle, you don't want to see it.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, this giant play.
This is not a fun spot to face Ogo, though.
So that anchoring thing we were talking about. Yeah. What was that number on Sid's agility?
I think it was a single digit.
It starts out at 9 and just got now 37. I gotta think he went pretty quick. And that makes this noodle pretty quick. So we're gonna have to be innovative here on this fight. Thinking about things like getting all your blinks and berserks out. I don't know that we have Bacchus wine too, actually. Oh.
No, I don't. I think we might have come across one in a chest, but I don't think we've seen them in shops.
Yeah, so I mean, you consider maybe at this point turning your battle speed down. You could get blinks up and berserks up. You're gonna be okay, but that wave is just you blink and it's hitting, and I don't know if we can action off before we get punched. Okay, Silk Web, that's gonna get a counter, but it's also gonna slow him down, followed by a Cure 4. That's good thinking. So we have a very fast noodle. We're all the way healed, but the punches are flying and we're not berserked or blink yet.
Yeah, this is going to be one that Dathus might have to consider coming back for, at least at the current juncture, unless he can kind of set himself up a little bit better to take this, because this is not looking like a very cooperative Ogopogo right now.
Yeah, I think you gotta consider opening with a berserk as fast as you can, then using chemisting with some other people, using elixirs, illusions, whatever you got to stabilize. Like this Cure 2 because we're low MP does not feel great.
This would have been a great time to have a spoon handy, but not going to happen here.
You know, I think we might have got through it if we had the MP. Rosa. Do you have a Berserk Cane doing work?
See, Kane at least can take the physical hits for the most part, but those big waves just aren't helping.
Oh, it's so close! Oh, good job, Davis. Oh, that was awesome.
You're not going to get much closer than that. Now, you're going to hate the fact that you just lost all that XP for the rest of your characters, but you know what? You don't care at this point. You just walk out of that giant.
Yep, and take some deep breaths, slow that heart rate, and pat yourself on the back.
You know, it's not very often that
intense.
Kane comes through like that, but you know what? That's a great time for it to happen.
Recap that fight. That was so well done. You didn't have the MP. Just throw off that silk web right away because you're not anchored how you want to be. Throw your one cure 4. Get Kane worked, and cure 2 and chemist your way to victory. That was really neat.
I'm sure that was all part of Dathus' plan. I think that was 100% how he thought the fight was gonna go. And now, unfortunately, on Sheep's end, Sheep is also doing the similar checks that Dathus was doing earlier, and they're not going to come through here, so now Dathus has a real chance to open this up.
Yeah, that giant play. And also, now we don't need to grind very much, although I'd consider... what do we have for anchor options? No, we
You just have the
anchor
Porum,
out
I believe, left now, right?
Yeah. You could probably handle anything on the moon right now, but maybe grab Porum before Z just for... I mean, you're going to have the levels, you might not even need that, but...
I mean, if you really want to give yourself the best chance here, maybe you start at Ribbon Room. Well, although he's starting in Cave Bahamut first to check the boss, but if you go to Ribbon Room, and that, if you're really lucky, that ends up being a boss you want, and you can get your 10th key item, at least whatever your last fight's going to be, at least you're getting just as much XP as you can here. Well, we know we don't need that sparkle anymore, so that's good. It's cave value, not valuable at all. At least not for Dathus.
That's pointing out that Kane is Dathus' favorite character, and you'd like to see your favorite character shine through.
I'm sure we don't get to hear the microphones on our racers. I'm pretty sure there was a very, very loud scream of approval from Dathus after that fight. Also, giving a little bit of extra memes in there by supporting our favorite Pink Puff Queen with the carrot buys there. And also finding those Bacchus wines, which that's definitely going to be handy towards the end of this seed.
I mean, my favorite character is useful too. You usually spend in the center slot, hanging out, 30 HP in quiet repose.
Now is Sheep finding the bad news that pan check was all for naught. So I would imagine Sheep is going to go just speeding to the moon now.
Yeah. And I mean, now we are hoping Sheep continues to stay similar to Dathus and takes the giant. Otherwise, we're going to see a lot of face checking when we get to the giant.
Well, Dathus opting to go top down here. Also doing what I do almost every single time I go this route and somehow forgetting which direction you come out of the door and going right back in the same door again. But we'll see.
Yeah, the subterranean's a confusing place.
Yeah, I can say that for sure. Oh, we're 3 for 3 on Moon. Or sorry, 3 for 4. Forgot about cave value. So we're 1 away.
Find Mylan Z here, and there's just one boss left. And, you know, we've kind of avoided the worst of the bosses. The no-go. But, like...
Which one do you want at this point? I assume you would want Golbez, although neither of them is exactly fun.
Depending on my... we have decent levels. Like, a Gauntlet would really round out your grind.
Now keep in mind, we're assuming Gauntlet's here. Gauntlet could also be in the Super Cannon.
That's a good point. It takes quite a few robes to operate that thing, I've seen.
If you want to talk about hitting all the buttons, you're going to need several people to hit all the buttons in that room.
Is there an armadillo involved?
Honestly, I could not tell you. I've barely memorized what the gauntlets are. I just know which ones I don't like.
Admiral Armadillo of the Dwarven Space Fleet, I'm told.
Well, now we're just going to be going into, presumably... Actually, I think by this point the math means that one more of these bosses has to be here.
Are we reaction grinding?
I have no idea what's happening here.
Do we have lightning?
Well, Sheep making their guesses here on the moon, starting with K value as well. Now, Sheep is going to actually check this sparkle because Sheep hasn't been to the Giants, so that's going to be a little bit extra time. And we'll see which of the sparkles we are avoiding.
Probably maybe get some Blarg action going. Yeah, the answer looks like we're doing a little bit of Golbez prep, taking out some characters that we don't necessarily want in that fight.
That's actually pretty smart. At this point, you're assuming that this is one of the fights you're looking at, and if it ends up being a gauntlet, you can quickly readjust to that. But yeah, if you're assuming that you're looking for a Golbez fight here, this is going to prepare you as best as you can, so that way you can actually get through this as quickly as possible with the characters that you want to just dismantle the Laughing Man.
Depending on which spot we find him at, assuming we do find him first, some of the magic spots aren't too bad at all. Like, if we go to Crystal, for example, he'll probably just zerk up.
The interesting question will be, if he finds Gauntlet first, does he reset out and see if he finds Golbez as well since he's set up for it, or do you just adjust to take that Gauntlet?
They're both kind of long fights. I think I just take whatever I find here.
I mean, you'll have to reset anyway to set up for Gauntlet, so we'll just see how that kind of turns out.
Again, I guess if you don't have... Oh, I think we have enough hourglasses to worry about it. But also, it depends on the location, too. Like, if we find Gauntlet at Masa, I think you're resetting. But we'll see.
Well, we don't got to think about that now, do we? All right, chat, you know what to do. You know what to type.
I think every single person is doing a knock-knock joke right now.
I guess the only remaining question is, which of the three that Dathus left alive is going to be the one to join the two fallen, or I should say napping people,
No,
and
they
it's
took
going to
out
be
Kane.
Kane.
It's not appropriate. Hero of the Seed.
Look, he's allowed a nap. He put in so much work in the Yogo fight that I think he deserves a quick nap.
Wondering if we'll see a life.
And thankfully, in this spot, the magic isn't really that strong here, so this is really a best case scenario for Dathus here.
They don't have a ton of HP to chew through. Don't have a lot of magic power. This is a good spot.
Yeah, this really is a best case scenario for Dathus here to get through this without nearly any amount of stress. You set up perfectly for it, and you got rewarded by getting it in the exact location that you really don't have to worry too much about it.
We do see the life on Kane. How to keep him going, being today, and he has a white spear. This can do some extra damage.
Now, Golbez could be real mean and just say, you know what, I see that Kane, but I don't want him here. But it looks like he's not going to have time to take care of that problem.
He's going to have some important questions.
Because that Kane is now about to put in some real work. As if Kane hasn't done enough, he ends up getting... He almost probably did about as much damage in those 2 hits as Edge did through the entirety of that fight.
And Golbez wants to know why.
Well, because we want the crystal, because we're now done and ready to go to Z on Dathus' side.
There we are.
Sheep, in the meantime, is going to make that journey down. And potentially we'll find 2 of the bosses he needs if Gauntlet also happens to be here. Although given the amount of spots that are left, Gauntlet could also be in a spot you don't want to see it. We were talking at the beginning of the race about how maybe there's a boss you might want to fade, considering what we know. Although that Ogo at CPU was pretty rough too.
Yeah, so like, if Sheep runs into the Gauntlet at the Mass Altar, Sheep's gonna take it. He doesn't have the news of the hard required giant yet.
Yeah, and considering where we are in terms of timing, you're thinking, oh my god, I'm so far behind, I'll take anything at this point.
He's also checked everything else, so could be very gambly. Assuming you check Massa last and Gauntlet's there, could be very gambly and say, I'm just gonna know one of my bosses is on the giant. Let's hope there's 2.
Well, at this point in time, Dathus has crushed part of Chiroya with the Lunar Whale as he prepares for the inevitable.
And we are going down to fight somebody. I'm seeing flags in chat. I'm wondering who we're gonna fight down here. Because Zemus, we don't know who it's gonna be. He's too big and bad to randomize and put in any location. And so, instead, we randomize what sprite Zemus is gonna look like. And as Golbez had important questions, we have a question for ourselves.
Is that my thing? Is that my thing?
Do you know it?
Well, 2 weeks of COVID screwed up my voice, so it's time to get that Macho Man Randy Savage back in practice, so whose butt are we gonna kick tonight? Also, Bad Karma, thanks for the 10 gifted subs. And Fried Potato as well with 5 gifted subs. We are just...
Very
the generosity
tonight,
tonight, it's friggin' 1 o'clock. The generosity today is just fantastic, both in terms of the seed and what they've given us in this race, and obviously our chat just being fantastic today.
They love their Mario Kart.
I mean, who doesn't?
I think that's Mario's gloved hand. I think he wears a white glove.
Look, I think after everything that's happened, I think the seed is just giving everybody a hand, okay?
It's not cute, but it's very handsome.
While Dathus is starting up the process of the C fight, we see Golbez on Sheep's side. Not giving the best results in terms of who he killed off, leaving Sid and Rose behind. At least your white mage is fine, but you would probably be hoping for somebody else, but we'll see how that fight goes.
And we'll see if Sheep even has to mess with that Ogo. If so, we'll be fighting Ogo, I guess, with... Well, no matter what, we'll have a lot more levels. Because we'll have 10 key items and a lot more XP from the Pale Dam.
Well, as we see, our anchor is down for the count now. Decent amounts coming from everybody. Edge and Kane pretty much trading based on the rolls. Yang doing just a little bit less, but you're doing something between 5 and 7 or 8,000, so you're doing pretty good damage right now. Just a matter of keeping everybody alive.
And Rosa doesn't have an amazing HP pool. Although it looks like we're all hurt. Not a Quint.
We're just going for it. Although Rosa with only about 540 on that first one, so not putting in nearly as much work, but hey, I'm here for the show.
I'm pushing out incredible amounts of damage.
You know, I'll ask Dathus, but I'm pretty sure this isn't strategy so much as it's like, look, I'm going out on... I started with memes, I played with memes, I'm going out on memes.
The memes are strong.
I mean, at this point, the race isn't over and you're in Z-Fight. You're at this point just looking at it and laughing, being like, you know what? Why not?
Definitely thumbs up.
I mean, so far we haven't seen that big bang yet, so the damage is pulling through enough to at least get through the fades. But there's that shake again, so we'll see.
We have tipped, and we will see big bang here.
And then Sheep about to check that Moss, so we're about to see if we're getting the bad news on where that gauntlet is.
Do we got a mean gauntlet?
Actually, I think it's the only check he's got left.
Oh, there's tower too.
Taken. Oh, that's right.
Oh. Oh. High evil mask.
Dathus doesn't know it yet, and he is going to be very happy to know that Giant was the right play to start. Although with everybody zerged right now with those HP amounts, this is going to be an interesting rest of the fight here against Z. We'll see what happens.
Nice roll on the siege skull. That's pretty amazing.
Well, there are the rocks.
But we get dodges.
Oh,
one dodge.
Oh no.
One dodge and we get through. Gonna have to dodge again. Edge.
Oh no.
I didn't see numbers. Oh, you saw the colors palette though, and knew that that we did not dodge.
All right, Dathus. You can only fly close to the sun once.
We're taking our whale elsewhere.
Are we sightseeing?
Maybe we're going to fight a turtle. I would take my frustrations out on a turtle if I just almost won but didn't dodge. Okay, strike that.
Well, either way, we're gonna go back. We've got some unfinished business.
Right.
And Dathus doesn't know it, but he's still got a bit of time here to work with, so... Because Sheep is, Sheep's having some... Let's, in the biggest quotation fingers I can possibly give, fun right now.
Yeah. I mean, on the plus side, you're getting levels.
That is a very small plus at this point.
That's all I got. Maybe we can steal some veils from the evil mask.
I feel like that might not be something in Sheep's mind right now. I'm gonna take a guess on that one. might be thinking about more important things. Might be looking at the race room and going, how is this not over yet? That might be the one saving grace in Sheep's mind, playing this and going, oh my god, no wonder the sea has taken forever. We both took this fight, not knowing that Dathus actually hasn't.
Right. Well, Dathus didn't get a picnic for their boss either. He had to deal with a very nope rope.
That is true. So I guess in a way, both of our runners are avoiding something they probably didn't like seeing. Although I think in Dathus's case, he might have been happier to deal with the Yogo than this gauntlet.
At least now we have a chance to Quint instead of Quad Zerg.
Yeah, look, if 4 people can't do all the work...
That was the issue last time. We just didn't push quite enough damage. We
right?
need five Zergers.
Either that or he might go, you know what, maybe I shouldn't berserk the white mage. So we're either going to see 5 for extra spice, or we're just going to see 4 with a mage that can at least recover when the Big Bang hits. Assuming the rolls are nice, I should say. I still can't help but look at Sheep's side and realize I can't remember the last time I fought on Evil Mask because I've gone out of my way to avoid that fight at any point.
Indeed. Wonder what award Dathus gets for all these memes. I mean, this is possibly a record amount of memes in a tournament on the winning side, I'd say.
I mean, he's already been given a hand, but I might be able to offer an extra slow clap if he's looking for an interview at the end of this race.
He gets exactly 1 gold sticker. One gold star sticker, that's what he gets.
And he does still have to get through this fight. This Z is really laying a smackdown.
Well, there's the sort of nerf. I mean, it wasn't as bad. Still have some pretty high rolls, though, on all of them. But a Cure 4 will take care of that. Interestingly enough, with all the key items that we didn't see, again, no spoon. So that really could have also sped up this process a little bit more, but because we never found it. I mean, it's possible Sheep might find it if the spoon happens to be behind this spot. But on Dathus' side, you would have liked that extra, 9999.
Yeah, I do appreciate Dathus taking this opportunity to clear up the inventory. We've had a lot of inventory bosses this race, and now we're getting it nice and clean.
And now we're just waiting.
Sheep's fighting a valiant fight here. It's not just this terrible gauntlet. We're kind of underleveled still. We don't have overwhelming power here.
Yeah, I mean, the seed's given its best at giving you at least enough with what's here. I mean, you certainly didn't get shorted on edge for sure. But yeah, this gauntlet, almost no matter what you have, unless you're like ridiculously overleveled, this is always a pain because the enemies that are contained in this gauntlet are just at any point in the game are an absolute pain.
And we're not through yet. It's a dragon time and ow.
And there it is.
Big ow. That heat ray is brutal and sadly have to reset.
And yeah, Sheep realizing, I think it's all in Giant, I gotta go for it.
Yeah, it's not a bad play. You have a 50% chance that everything is in Giant, and you just never have to see that gauntlet again. And maybe right now, Sheep is thinking, hey, no one's finished. Maybe my opponent is running against the same issue.
Ooh, that Big Bang, very generous. Everybody's alive. You're going to cure forward that right back. And assuming that the damage output is similar, you're going to see rocks pretty soon on Dathus' side by the looks of it.
I'm playing a bit more conservatively this time, saving for the Cure 4, which comes in handy as rocks are falling. We're healed.
Everybody gets hit, but at least everybody's alive. Hopefully you can get the damage off, or at the very least, you should really be hoping for another cure if you can get one off. Just for safety. And that is it. Mercifully, over 2 hours, it's over.
What a seed. GG's. That was very well played by Death.
We cannot complain about how this seed has gone. What a fantastically run seed. And joining us is the winner of this race, Dathus. You know what? Normally I ask a question to start this off, but after 2 hours of this absolute memery of a seed, I'm going to give you the floor to say what the first thing is coming to your mind here.
The first thing that's coming to my mind is something from the future. I did go and check the forge. How do you like some scrap metal as your super smith?
Oh, that's perfect for the seed. Scrap metal, delicious.
Scrap metal for the hot garbage rolled. Brava.
I mean, at the very least, it wasn't a Giganax.
I would have loved that. That would have been sold immediately.
Dathus, you know, I only have the hottest of garbage for you.
And yep, and that was everything I wanted it to be, and more.
And Dathus, do you know who was at the Masa altar?
Considering you're asking me about that, I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and tell you that every single glass mask dragon that you could fit on that altar is there, and they can stay there.
Well, we were wondering, you know, we thought that maybe going to the LST first would have been the better play because you were still looking for key items. So if you're looking for an extra grind, the Giant would have been better to wait. Turns out, even with that Ogopogo, yeah, Giant actually wasn't a bad call there.
So the way I justified it to myself is I know where package is. The Tower Key could lead into Rat Tail. Rat Tail and Tower Key could lead interchangeably into each other essentially, and that's one boss check, which means that then the LST could go back down with the pass. It's fine. With the amount of bosses left, I just knew I had enough ish power to handle anything. That Ogopogo almost humbled me really quick, but no, the choices I had left versus key item locations versus what those key items could be, it made more sense to do a double on the Giant, because even if one of them is required and the other one is not, I could reset out, take it, and just leave, depending on how bad it is. So it was worth it. The LST was the higher percentage play, to be completely honest, but sometimes percentages mean nothing.
How did you feel on that Ogo fight when you saw Rosa's MP?
This is fine. Everything's fine. I wish I'd used the cabins that I bought, but this is fine. I got a little nerve-wracking, I will admit. The Cure 2s, I was just gonna keep throwing onto Kane as long as I could just to keep him standing. The fact that I knew the double wave was gonna be coming out after that last hit he took, it wouldn't have mattered. I think in hindsight, maybe I would have just blinked up with Rosa or something. But yeah, with her MP being that low going into that fight, it was less than thrilling. I wish I'd gone to the moon first to find all those Bacchus wines, but aside from that, scary is about it.
I mean, it was my understanding that you planned that out perfectly. You meant for Kane to only have 100 HP when that fight was over.
That's 179 HP more than he needed.
Definitely made for some high drama.
I'm not gonna lie, I think that's probably the part that I'm most excited to watch back and see your guys' reactions about that. Yeah, there was a face or two made on my camera. Scala got to enjoy that, and Z told me that it was entertaining.
I mean, I assume that there was at least some amount of fist pumping or yelling when that fight was done.
There was multiples, yes.
But with the rest of the seed, obviously, you know, by about almost an hour and a half, you were still sitting at, what, 3 bosses? What were you looking at? 3 or 4, I should say. Like, what were you looking at going into, like, the moon at that point with that much time already in and still only seeing that number at 3? Like, just what was going through your mind? Were you panicking at all? Were you thinking you were behind, or were you thinking, no, this seed's just, this is what it is?
So, considering how the key items were laid out and what bosses were where, the moon seemed... I was very afraid that everything left was straight up on the moon. The giant wouldn't have been required. Tower key wasn't necessary. The fear there was, yes, I should have taken... When I got that darkness crystal, I should have just taken it and ran right on up, as opposed to dilly-dallying with the earth crystal. But again, 2 bosses, good shot that there's still something there. And they're quick, as you saw. It was Asura into I don't even remember the second boss, but all I know it was pretty quick. Into Antlion. Quick bosses. I had more than enough power. When I needed a little bit more experience. Levels were kind of okay, as you saw in the Zeromus fight. A little bit more HP was kind of the difference. Rosa surviving at 100 HP at one point. That apple actually paying out, as an FYI. No, the fear was moon being 100% required, which technically it is. Like, either moon or giant was your hard required, and neither one of them were favorable. Golbez being hidden on the moon, I knew it was either going to be him or Gauntlet I was going to find first, and as you saw, I kind of dropped off my team, and I'm like, we're just doing Golbez. He's going to be the faster of the fights, and I got him in the best location.
At first, we were considering maybe reaction grind, but there were no mages, and then one other thing you're going to find when you watch back is how impressed we were with that Ruby fight. Is so methodical, but got you there. Sheep actually wiped a couple times. How did you feel about that fight?
So that fight, the only reason I'm really happy about that fight is because I found that ice brand, that one-off ice brand, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I don't care what is at this, whether it's Element or whether it's Rubicante, the fight is going to be easy. Kane jumping with an ice brand, as you saw, does a lot of damage. I had enough darts where it wasn't going to be much of a problem. And again, we had jump, we had power, we have spells. There's not going to be a lot of counter fires. So the only thing that was the quote problem were those glares. The fight, Rubicante, if all you're dealing with is his glares and his auto attacks, kind of not that scary.
That's very well played. And we were wondering if you're going to find that ice brand, because Sheep had gotten there a little before you. Didn't do a full Eblin clear, so it needed those Mad Ogres to get the levels to get through. You had done Eblin clear, you had your level, so we weren't sure if you were going to take the Mad Ogres and consequently find that sword, but you did. It worked out really good.
Yeah, the Mad Ogres, like, the goal was, on my way down, I needed to get Hallam to warp, because that was his only usefulness. He was to help me get to underground, warp, and then as soon as I'd seen that Sid, I'm like, you're gone, I'm gonna get Sid in later. That way I could at least like have another Berserker on the fight, because his agility is low enough to be manipulatable, which, by the way, the first fight, RA2, not fun. That dwarf, finding that random dwarf axe, this is why you loot more than you really think you should, because if I hadn't found that dwarf axe, that other Z fight would have been less fun, but still would have worked perfectly fine.
Well, as we sit with you winning this race, you're going to be moving on to the next round. You'll be facing the winner of Mecha Link and Slippery. How are you feeling going in with one win under your belt and preparing for the next round?
Confidence is feeling a little bit better. Slippery and Mecha Link, I have faced off against them in previous tournaments. They are no slouches at all in the player department, so I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little scared. It's in a foot race, I think both of them beat me, but I'm not afraid to take, as you see, kind of like the checks that in theory this shouldn't be bad, but could be scary. So my hope is basically just to take cheeky checks and get a good win that way. But no, they're fantastic runners, and it's going to be a good race.
That quad Zerker's going on Z, and you almost pull it off.
I was so tempted, but that Big Bang was just too high of an amount, and then the Meteor came in too quickly, or else I would have berserked Rosa. You saw I set her up for it again. She had the bow and arrows ready.
I was wondering if you're gonna do it.
I almost did, but I'm like, Big Bang Meteor, I'm not gonna take that again. Twice burned, once shy.
Well,
You can only play with fire so many times there, buddy.
If that isn't the way I play Free Enterprise, I don't know what else is the best way to describe it.
Paul did say that you are getting a gold sticker for your memeing. So good job, sir. Anything else you'd like to add?
I will wear that gold sticker with pride. In fact, I'm going to go find one later on. I will love to say again, thank you very much, Radical and Mike, for your commentary. I'm going to be very excited to watch this back. I know it's going to be a great time with the two of you. Again, I want to say big shout outs to Direwolf for stepping in last minute for tracking. Snape had a little bit of issues, so I would have loved to see him here too. But either way, Direwolf, much appreciated. And Scala, I love the memes you did at the beginning, because you did share that with us, and that was so good. And thank you for the hot garbage. Again, shoutouts to Free Enterprise for again letting me show off memery and strategy at the same time.
Well, we're looking forward to see how far you go in Highway to the Rainbow Road 5 here in the blue shell bracket.
I will say, I was also very tempted to use that last siren I knew I had on the pink puffs. I was so tempted.
Next race.
Next time. Next time.
Thank you, Dathus.
Cheers. Have a great day, guys.
GG's again, Dathus. Great job.
And with that being said, Sheep is just in the midst of starting their Z fight, so assuming we have no hiccups here, we are very close to this entire race being over and done with. This seed has been something else.
It really has. And we just gave that gold sticker to Dathus, and meanwhile, while we're giving the gold sticker out, Deep Launcher gets the scrap metal, lands the airship right by the hole to go to the overworld, and takes a moment to reflect upon. Oh, my bad. Okay, well then, gold sticker fully earned.
Either way, we give Sheep a hand here as well with this Z Sprite, and we get on with hopefully what is a one and done fight here. As Sheep with a little bit more levels on this fight, Rosa is definitely going to be a little more likely to take any sort of Big Bang roll that comes her way.
Yeah, we got a lot more levels as opposed to what Dathus was dealing with. And this fight should go a little smoother. First one did.
Yeah, the damage output is a little bit higher too. You also have that Pelham. I'm assuming with Nuke, that's also going to help really throw those damage rolls up even higher.
See the veil coming out? Saw two veils come out.
I mean, Rosa also has white, so who knows? Maybe you're just bouncing. Everybody gets a turn.
Either way, I'm pretty confident in Sheep Launcher's ability to handle this fight.
Yeah, and with the amount of damage that's coming off here, you're in pretty good shape. Especially having a white and a nuke also going off, just to really throw the damage rolls over.
That is almost 10k of microwave.
And after all that Big Bang is not doing too much, so you're not really worrying right now. And with the damage rolls that we're seeing coming out here...
I just hit for 5k. Ow.
Just pulling that roll out like it's no big deal.
You need spoons when you're doing a spoon with the damage every round.
Yeah, just a nice quad 9 there just to really help this along. It is a bit of a lengthy spell, but when you see those damage rolls, you're not complaining too much.
Indeed, white is very powerful. Even got Sid with some chemist duty.
I mean, look, if anybody doesn't need to be alive by the time if another Big Bang hits, Sid's the sacrificial lamb here. You're not too worried about him going down.
He's had a relatively easy time of it, really. I mean, he can go down here. He's had naps earlier.
Yeah, Sid's only real job here is just to make sure people stay alive, and then just to be the one that all the magic gets thrown at. Which, when you really think about it, can you imagine, even knowing Reflect is on, seeing a gigantic nuke coming at you just to bounce off of you? Must be a very terrifying sight.
It gets worse because sometimes the nuke is all queued up and then he throws a black hole at, and you're like, hey, pal,
It's like, bud, please, please.
Yeah, these are very effective hybrid strats. 9s, 5 from K from Legend, 3K from MK.
Yeah, we're not particularly worried right now. Even if a Big Bang hits, you're probably so close to the end that you're not thinking too hard about it.
We did just get some double cure duty on Handamus here. Extra cured.
And, well, there goes the Sid, but Palom at least stays alive, so that's okay.
And the Star Veil's still intact, because we had 2 Star Veils. Strats explain.
So despite Handamus's best efforts to try and at least get some damage in here, it's not really going to matter because that nuke was alone to not even have to deal with rocks, and this race is now officially, mercifully, over.
Yeah, that was a really fun race.
I don't think either of
good
us
show.
were looking at this seed walking in and thinking we were going to be looking at over 2 hours.
I heard a click in here. I believe we have the legendary sheep launcher himself. Juicer.
Legendary is one way to put it. GG, it's nice.
That was a great race between you two. I know that there's a bit of time difference at the end, but there was a lot of seesaw battling going in. And I was curious if you'd be true to your beliefs and check Keyless Tower. You did.
Yes, and it turned out not to be anything, and I thought about walking it down just for the memes, but I figured I still have a chance at this. And Keyless Tower, the ultimate tease. So we're gonna burn this tape and make sure that this never gets out, so Keyless Tower can keep its 100% record as always the correct play.
So a big
That
thing
sounds
that
like a
I
great
asked
plan.
Dathus, I looked at the time around like an hour 20, hour 30 when the moon was starting to really become a play after all the other checks. You're sitting there with 3 of 7 bosses after everything you've done so far. How are you feeling around that point, knowing that pretty much at this point the moon, if you're really lucky, maybe the super cannon had something later, but the moon was pretty much the only thing left to go. So how are you feeling with knowing that basically every bit of progression left was going to be there?
Yeah, it kind of fills you with a pit of dread, especially knowing that the gauntlet was still out there. Yeah, I knew it around that time that the moon was absolutely going to be required, and I wanted to kind of get through everything all at once. So I tried to take care of the earth, as many earth checks as I could, to make sure that it was a moon and then a giant, because I knew that was likely going to be required as well. When I got down to only having the tower key left, I knew that it was face check time because not all the bosses could be behind the tower key. Only one was, and then I got lucky with both Pale Dim and Ogopogo being on the giant. And who knew that kind of thing would be preferable to anything? But it's much more preferable than that gauntlet was. Good grief.
That was a really heads-up play on your part. I mean, you got up there, you got to say hi to the friendly, fun, evil masks, the behemoths, and then the red dragons, and then you're like, nope, I'm taking that 50-50 on the moon and on the giant. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I knew it was either both my other bosses would be either on the giant or behind a tower key, and if both the bosses weren't on the giant, I don't know what I was gonna do. Probably cry.
No, that would have been appropriate. Dathus actually went right to the giant and didn't have to deal with any of those things.
Nice. Well, that's why he's a restream lead, and Dathus is a heck of a player. So I really hope this was an enjoyable race. I had fun running it. Scala Kitty, it's been a while since Z rolled her kind of magic. But she always seems to save them for me.
It was
Look,
truly tough seed.
you got to pull the special stuff out once in a while. Once in a blue moon, you have to pull these things out, you know?
You got it.
And also with the things that were being pulled out in the seed, like, even though that the memes and sometimes just absolute cruelty that the seed was in terms of what it doled out, it seemed to tell you right from the very beginning that this seed was built for edge. The amount of darts you saw, an early ninja shirt, like, at least going into a hook ride, you must have been pretty happy knowing at least I have a few emergency darts if I need it.
Yeah, exactly. And I darted a white spear or two at that Ruby, who was surprisingly tough on that hook route. Yeah, Edge really carried. It was kind of the Edge and Palom show for a while. I was really glad to have both of them on board. And it could have been worse. Rosa could not have been there, and there could have been a Tella. That would have made things much harder for me.
Well, you played this seed really well. I know you probably felt a bit behind after the Ruby fight. You were up, going up Zot. You were just one boss behind Dathus, and the big difference was just a routing choice of him taking the giant early and you running into a very, very rude gauntlet.
Yeah, and he deserves all that credit. I was actually thinking about routing the giant first, but he deserves all that credit. He knew that probably that there was the EXP up there, and that there would be more than likely be a required boss. So all credit to Dathus. He's the best.
You made the higher percentage play. We had tournament champions in chat suggesting doing exactly what you did. So your routing was also very good.
And I did, I knew that only the tower key was left that was guarding any bosses. So I was in full face check mode. So that made things a little easier.
So, as I always do towards the end of the interviews, you're looking down the barrel of your next match being the loser of Mecha Link and Slippery. How are you feeling going into your next match? Do you feel like you could be playing differently after this specific race, or are you comfortable with just how you played and it was just one of those cases where the seed just kind of just didn't go the way that you were hoping it would?
I mean, that would involve me getting markedly better in the next week. Both Mecha and Slippery are tremendous players, so I'm gonna have a fight up against it no matter who I draw. But yeah, I'm hoping to get a little bit more practice in. I have a tendency to kind of blank out and forget really important things while racing. I don't think I did that as much today. I kept the mistakes down to maybe in the low 3 digits, so hopefully that will continue, and I could give whoever I'm up against next a good race.
It's going to be hard for you to give a better race than today. We enjoyed it thoroughly. Think you're going to do great, and we enjoyed watching you run.
And I'm sure everybody enjoyed watching you stream. So thanks, Mike34. Thanks, CS Radical, for commentating. Thanks, Direwolf, for pushing those buttons. And Scala Kitty, no thanks for you.
Whoa! Whoa! What? You know what? You know what? Sheep. Oh, shoot.
Shots fired.
No, you can come back. It's okay.
Scala, thanks so much. You really do save the best for me, and I really feel special. I appreciate it.
Like I told Dathus, I had only the hottest of garbage for you.
Well, thanks everybody once again, and I hope this was good Saturday morning entertainment.
It absolutely was. This is the one race that I signed up for this week. I'm glad I got to do it, and it was absolutely worth it. Thanks again, Sheep, and good luck in your next match.
Thank you.
And GG's to Sheep, GG's to Dathus, and thank you everybody for checking out this race. Mike, this was a seed.
It really was. It had everything in it. Hard required giants, scrap metal, Asa Gauntlet, Rude Ruby.
The racer's giving us all the memes possible. Like, you cannot ask for a better race. You got everything you could ask for, and you got time. You have everything here. But unfortunately, we can't do this forever. We do at some point have to bid y'all adieu. So, Mike, where are we going as we finish off this stream?
I'm gonna go play some Mario Kart. Before that, I think we're heading to Raging Levine, I believe.
Yeah, Raging Levine is doing some Blue Moon practice ahead of his race tonight. Be sure to keep in mind of all the other races we got going tonight, as we have, is it 3 or 4 that we're looking at for the rest of the day?
It's a busy day.
4 other races. We have Nitzy against Flossie Fern at 3 p.m. Eastern on Free N2. We have Warlink against Gambit at 4 p.m. on Free Enterprise 1. Raging Levine, as we mentioned, will be facing Professor Renderer at 8 p.m. Eastern on Free N2. And lastly, at 11 o'clock Eastern, Dekar against Peasants on Free N1. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for checking out this race. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the races that we're going to be looking at this afternoon and this evening. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, everybody. Take care.